James Harden was tremendous against the Miami Heat on Monday, scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter to lead Brooklyn to the 13-point victory. And while Harden's scoring outburst was certainly incredible, it was Brooklyn's spacing that should have opponents terrified. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you have not already subscribed, go ahead and do that below. Today, while yes, we'll be looking at James Harden's step backs and crossovers and isolations, we'll be focusing more on how Brooklyn spaced its shooters across the floor to emphasize the Beard's scoring talents. Let's get into it. Throughout the dominant crunch time period, Brooklyn made the executive decision to put Joe Harris and Kevin Durant in the corners. Not Jeff Green, who is shooting a scorching 40%, and not Kyrie Irving, who is of course an excellent shooter as well. No, the Nets chose to put their best shooter on the team in one quarter and Kevin Durant, their most unstoppable shooter, in the other. What this does to a defense is that it occupies the two help defenders, depending on which direction Harden goes, which in this clip is Duncan Robinson and Andre Iguodala. Essentially, those guys are tasked with leaving their men and rotating over into the paint to protect the basket, in the situation that Harden gets by his man and drives into the teeth of the defense. Now you'll see in this clip, as Jeff Green sets the step-up screen, which is an on-ball screen in which the screener faces the opposite baseline and steps into position in almost a sneak attack, both of Duncan Robinson and Andre Iguodala rotate over to protect the paint, leaving Joe Harris wide open for the corner three. I was curious if there was a specific philosophy or formula for aligning Brooklyn's shooters, so I asked Steve Nash about it.
Well, we definitely talk about getting deep corner, filling those spots. You know, there's a few ways you can slice it, but it's not super complicated. You really only have kind of three ways, maybe four, that you can slice, creating those isolation situations. So now you can get into them in a myriad of ways, but once you get down to it, you know, there's either two on each side. There's either a 1-4 flat. There's, you know, one corner filled and three banked on the other side, or there's one in the corner, a dunker, one in the other corner, and one lifted. So, you know, at the end of the day, that's all there kind of is to space the floor. But how you get there and how the night's going and us evolving as a team, you know, we'll continue to explore what is the best scenario there. But part of it is quite natural. And then it's up to us to refine and communicate and figure out what we like and how we want to get there and what scenarios predicate where we're going, what we're doing.
1-4 flat, two on each side, all of these are basic setups for just aligning your shooters. But the main takeaway from Nash's argument is that Brooklyn is working through some things. And just based on what we saw Monday, it appears they may have stumbled upon something. Earlier in the quarter, the Nets ran the same alignment with Joe Harris and Kevin Durant slotted in the corners, except it was Kyrie Irving handling up top. Similar to James Harden, Kyrie Irving only needs a little bit of space from the Jeff Green ball screen to get downhill, but where the two players differ is what happens next. When Bam Adebayo rotates over to the rim, Duncan Robinson is left effectively guarding two players, James Harden and Joe Harris. Kyrie Irving opts to take the floater, which is fine, but Bam Adebayo is a really tough defender to get much of anything over. And I would argue that he missed a kickout pass to James Harden at the wing. If that shot isn't open for James, he can always kick to Joe Harris in the corner. Now back to Harden. On this play, Brooklyn's strongest shooters trade places. Kevin Durant moves over into that left corner, but quickly realizes he's being guarded by Bam Adebayo, the only shot blocker on the floor. He also notices that Harden is the guy handling up top, a lefty that likes to drive left. And should Durant remain in that spot, Adebayo is one of the few guys in the league that can successfully help from the strong side and try to block the shot before recovering back to the corner. So in response, Durant cuts out of that corner, around a Joe Harris screen to drag Bam Adebayo far away from any possible blocks at the rim. Harden, meanwhile, engages in a guard-guard pick-and-pop with Kyrie Irving, which gives him a mismatch with Goran Dragic on the switch. At this point, Joe Harris cuts from one corner to the other to pull Duncan Robinson, Miami's other help defender, away from the basket as well. James Harden crosses over a couple of times and drives straight to the basket unopposed for 2 points. This is a different alignment, but the same general principles apply. Kevin Durant cuts out of that left side of the floor while James Harden and Jeff Green engage in a screen and roll to give James Harden the mismatch with Duncan Robinson. Again, with no KD means no secondary help defenders, giving Harden an empty side of the floor to cross over a couple of times, isolate, and pop up for that step back three he loves so much. Spacing matters, and it leads to results like this. And then we'll end with this. James Harden isolating on an empty side of the floor, getting by his man and forcing a rotation from Goran Dragic, which forces Duncan Robinson to rotate over to Jeff Green in the corner, which then forces a rotation of Bam Adebayo onto Joe Harris, which then forces a rotation from Goran Dragic onto KD at the top of the key. And with all this scrambling and the defense put into rotation, Joe Harris drives the lane and dishes to a wide open Kyrie Irving at the rim. Again, spacing matters for a creator as innovative as James Harden, who can score in so many ways and hit so many difficult passes. Put 3 all-time great shooters in a very solid one next to James Harden, and, well, you're gonna end up with some wide open layups. In the game against the Heat, I really think the Brooklyn Nets stumbled onto something. James Harden may be the team's best go-to creator, not only because he's got every single isolation trick in the book, but also because he combines that scoring skill set with a top-notch passing portfolio. Now, that doesn't mean he's gonna be the last guy taking the shots, but I do think he should be the guy that's handling the ball in crunch time situations. Maybe more important, we learned that if the Nets stash Joe Harris and Kevin Durant in each corner, it's virtually impossible for the defense to help middle should James Harden drive, which renders most modern day defenses which look to take away the paint without giving up too many threes pretty much useless. Oh, and you can just slot Kyrie Irving at one of the 2 wings to occupy that third help defender. All in all, I'd like to see more of what Brooklyn ran in the crunch time against Miami. Again, I really think they're onto something. And with that, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and go ahead and share that thing on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. And while you're here, go ahead and check out my Twitter at MattBrooksNBA. It's where I post all of my work, podcasts, live stream, video shorts like this, as well as some of my written work. And all in all, I'm pretty good at posting everything I create. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. Peace.